Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. The Colombian President Gustavo Petro has said he won't interfere in a case against his eldest son, who's been arrested on suspicion of money laundering and illicit enrichment. Nicolas Petro is accused of soliciting contributions from drug traffickers for his father's election campaign, then keeping the money for himself. He denies wrongdoing. Luis Fajardo is following the story.
It's a very big story in Colombia. As you may imagine, it's the first time ever that the son of a sitting president is arrested under suspicion of graft. The belief is that Nicolás Petro, who was an important person during the presidential campaign that led to the election of President Petro in 2022, he now faces accusations of having received illicit funds. And this is a very big scandal in Colombia, particularly if you take into account that President Petro, who was the first ever left-wing president elected in Colombia, he had campaigned specifically on a promise to clean up the system, to fight against corruption.
France has suspended all development aid to Niger in response to this week's military coup. It's also cut direct budget support. The Foreign Ministry demanded a return to constitutional order under the elected president, Mohamed Bazoum. Earlier, the EU suspended financial and security cooperation, and the African Union gave the army 15 days to return to its barracks. An explosion at a fireworks warehouse in southern Thailand has killed at least 9 people. The blast also destroyed a large part of the town of Sungai Golok, as Jonathan Head reports.
The local governor said the cause of the explosion was a technical error by welders working on a warehouse where fireworks were stored. Accidents involving fireworks, which are commonly used in Southeast Asia to commemorate big events, are not unusual. And despite public pressure to improve safety, Thailand still has a poor record of accidents on its roads, construction sites and in the workplace. Enforcement of regulations is all the more challenging in Sungai Golok, a notoriously rowdy border town where anything goes, in a region of Thailand which is still blighted by an active armed insurgency.
Much of Iraq is enduring an electricity blackout after a fire broke out in a power station in Basra. It comes as summer temperatures rise above 50 Celsius. Here's Sebastian Usher.
The Electricity Ministry in Iraq said that electricity in the whole country had been affected by a fire at a power station in the southern city of Basra. It said that every effort was being made to resolve the problem as soon as possible. Iraqis often face power shortages thanks to the violence and unrest that's plagued the country, but corruption and bad management have played a big part too. With temperatures at 45 Celsius in Baghdad today and due to rise above 50 Celsius in Basra in the coming days, the latest electricity outage couldn't come at a worse time.
BBC News. Protests are taking place across Israel against the government's planned judicial overhaul for the 30th week in a row. It's the first Saturday of mass demonstrations since the first bill in the overhaul was passed by the Israeli parliament earlier this week. The Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has been charged with planning an insurrection, taking part in a criminal conspiracy and other offences. Prosecutors say the charges are linked to comments he made last year and the year before. Mr Sonko denies wrongdoing. He was detained on Friday after a scuffle with security forces outside his home in Dakar. New figures released by India's government show the estimated wild tiger population in the country has risen to more than 3,680. A statement said the numbers reflected a growth rate of more than 6% per year. Anbarasa Nitirajan reports.
India once had tens of thousands of tigers, but British and Indian nobility and officials hunted the animals during the colonial period. Deforestation, poaching and human encroachment also devastated the population. The tiger conservation program started when it plummeted to less than 2,000 in the 1970s. Now, the rising numbers are a conservation success, but not without controversy. With more tigers competing for the same resources, some animals venture outside protected nature reserves looking for food, bringing them into conflict with people in nearby villages.
Latest results from last Sunday's Spanish election leave the governing socialists with 1 seat less than in the initial count. This will make it harder for them to form a coalition and helps the centre-right People's Party, who have been awarded an extra seat in Madrid. The new figure takes account of votes from abroad. Neither the centre-left nor centre-right won enough seats to govern alone. BBC News.